Recently on this channel, we covered the huge changes happening right now at ZeniMax Online Studios, makers of the Elder Scrolls Online MMO. Recently, Microsoft canceled the team's new MMO project, codenamed Blackbird, a new sci-fi focused MMORPG concept built around an entirely new IP, while also laying off an unknown number of ESO developers who were potentially crucial to the development team based on recent interviews with staff members who are still left behind. Now, all of this caused studio director Matt Fire to leave the studio that he built from the ground up. Well, we're finally hearing now from the new studio head, Joe Burba, about how the team is doing and what the future direction of the Elder Scrolls Online actually is. Joe recently wrote in his first studio director's letter, which I will link down below, the following. After 20 years in the game industry and 13 years at ZOS, I am both humbled and honored to lead the incredibly talented team here as we continue our work on the Elder Scrolls Online. Taking the baton from Matt Fire in this ongoing MMO journey, I am lucky to have learned many important lessons on both leadership and maintaining the long-term relationship we have with our ESO fam. Before I share more about myself, please allow me to assure you, the ESO community, that the game isn't going anywhere, and the studio is continuing to work hard on new features, adventures, and improvements. We said that there's big changes to the world of Tamriel on the horizon, and that hasn't changed, and we'll be sharing more about those soon. Just a side note here, in terms of those big changes on the horizon we mentioned, we obviously don't know what this is yet exactly. Something that was promised, though, by previous studio director Matt Fire is changes to overland difficulty, which lots of players have been asking for years. This would be my guess in terms of what those big changes are, that a customizable difficulty setting for quest and maybe overland content is still on the way, which would allow players to choose more difficult and engaging combat if they want to, with potentially better rewards. Now, this has probably already been in development for some time, and so layoffs may not really affect these new features that much because they're already in the development pipeline. Now, as I discussed in my previous video on the Microsoft layoffs, I'm not especially concerned for ESO in the near future, but it's what comes after that as budget cuts and lack of the team really start to sink in over the coming years. Joe goes on to say, during his departure, Matt told me at the core of ESO's success are two teams, the team at ZOS and the ESO community. The game would not exist without either. The players are the beating heart of this game, and we, the developers, should never ever forget that. Joe then goes on to discuss his previous experience with other games and communities, first for City of Heroes and then on Tabula Rasa, both at NCSoft. He then spent time in production, learning the everyday art and craft of development before landing at ZOS, and that he started his journey with ZOS as the director of community. With the ESO PC launch, he managed the beta program and transitioned to be the live services director, a job less visible to the community, but one where the players were always first in his mind, and his role was to ensure that the game remained up and running and to get updates into the hands of players. So there you have kind of the background on who Joe Burba is, what his experience is in the MMO development cycle. He goes on to discuss that the core tenets that we've learned over the years, speaking about ESO, haven't changed. These values are the stars that guide us through difficult times, including people first, game always, turn square corners, integrity is our guiding light in all we do, all hands on deck when the inevitable storms happen, own our mistakes and make repairs quickly, get a little bit better every day by being open to feedback and focused on learning. Everyone has a place in our studio and in our worlds. Joe then goes on to discuss the recent layoffs by Microsoft at ZeniMax Online Studios, which I think sheds a lot more light and perspective on what's actually going on, not just with the Elder Scrolls Online, but with the bigger genre of MMOs and even gaming in general a little bit here. He says, as for the future, the recent loss of our colleagues sent painful shockwaves through the entire studio. Right now we have an all-hands-on-deck approach and are focused on learning. While we reflect, focusing on ESO is our priority. Our partners at Bethesda and Xbox believe, as I do, that ESO, like other MMOs who are still updating their worlds after 10, 20 or 30 plus years, is a long-term home for our players. So that statement alone is very telling to me about what Microsoft has said to ZeniMax Online as far as what they will be doing. It sounds like they'll be working on ESO for a long time and not much else. Joe seems to highlight the vision for future Microsoft-held MMOs here. discussing that the older or longer lasting series of MMOs of 10, 20, and even 30 years is really the focus. Now, the oldest of those currently, of course, is World of Warcraft, which is now 20 plus years old. Blizzard, the developers of WoW, is of course now owned by Microsoft as well. We previously speculated on this concept, but Joe really seems to emphasize it here for himself and for ZeniMax that Microsoft is really focused on successful active MMOs, also with well-known IPs. We're talking Elder Scrolls, Fallout, and of course the Warcraft IP. That this is really the focus of Microsoft's MMO portfolio for Xbox studios, and that new projects like the Blackbird MMO that they were developing for several years are probably never going to happen at this point. We all know that MMOs are difficult to develop. They take a long time and a lot of money, but Microsoft and the developers are really saying the quiet parts out loud now, discussing that, these long-held IPs, this is where MMOs are going to be focused for the next several years, that probably is the reality moving forward, at least when we're talking about bigger studios and big publishers. He goes on to say that when we add that 30 plus years long view to our list of stars that guide us, it can steady us with clear-eyed purpose even when storms hit. We are still holding on to our values. We are still building ESO with you and for you. We are still ZOS, evolving and getting better every day. We are still Bethesda. So again, reiterating the idea that the core focus of the studio isn't really changing, but also adding in the concept of ESO being a 30 plus year long video game. That's a pretty incredible statement. Really interesting. I mean, what does that even mean? Obviously, you can't stay on the same platforms for 30 years. So is eventually going to upgrade to further console generations. Will there be a sequel, maybe an Elder Scrolls Online 2 at some point to reinvigorate the game? I don't think I've ever heard this from a developer that they intend to be in gaming for 30 plus years with a single game. Yeah, not really sure what to make of that statement. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. He then finishes up to say, we thank all of you who have sent kind words of support during this time and appreciate everyone over the years who has supported the team, be they fellow developers, our partners, or players. And I'm excited to create the future of ESO and ZOS with all of you. And then he leaves with a final note from previous studio director Matt Firer. Thank you all devs and community members for everything you've collectively done for ESO, for ZOS, and for the gaming world. ESO is a titanic achievement and will endure and thrive, and I will be there as well, living in my favorite fantasy virtual world. See you all in Tamriel. So there you have it. ESO is still being supported, which we already knew. We know that ESO is successful enough to remain being supported by Microsoft, at least for the time being, and we know that new and updated features are still on the way. Hopefully that Overland difficulty update, which ZOS has been talking about for years now, hopefully that is next. But what ESO looks like as that development pipeline starts to shrink now with a smaller team and assuming with fewer resources, that's yet to be seen over the long run. I mean, what will ESO look like in 2, 3, or 5 years from now? Joe committed here to a 30-year plus MMO for the Elder Scrolls Online. But what do you guys think of that statement as well? Let me know in the comments section below, and thanks again for watching. Hey everybody, just a quick note that if you're liking the new subclassing builds for ESO, I'm also releasing even more for our Tier 2 channel members called the Elite Squad, like our updated unkillable stamina necromancer build called the Death Knight. This is one of my favorites, with massive AoE damage, plus insane survivability and self-healing. This is going to be great for soloing dungeon bosses, and world events, and even some trials bosses. Plus we have our new Golden Saint build for the Stamina Templar, combining Holy and Fire magic, and our unique subclassing Druid build, also a ton of fun to play. And all of these, of course, are made to incorporate subclassing to create some truly amazing off-meta themed builds that basically feel like you're playing a completely new class in the Elder Scrolls Online. Members of our Tier 2 Elite Squad can unlock these builds right now, along with dozens of other members-only builds and guides. So if you're interested in supporting the channel, it really is the best way to do that because you get a truckload of bonus content, not to mention early access to videos and members-only Discord. Just make sure to select the Elite Squad option if you're interested. And to get started, just click on the join button down below or the membership link in the description of this video to see our complete library of members-only builds and guides. Huge shout out as always to our channel members who make this channel possible. I truly could not do what I do without you. So thanks again, and thanks to all of you for watching this video. I hope you're doing well, stay safe out there, and I will see you around in the next one.